Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I specifically want to talk about how Alex Garland has changed the use and the value of Dungeons and Dragons as we move forward forever, and why all of Alex Garland's body of work has to be watched by um, every dungeon master 18 and older, because I think some of his content is rated R, and why Alex Garland really is defining the future of Dungeons and Dragons. Let's jump into this. Okay, so Alex Garland, if you don't know who he is, he's a British director who copies Hollywood's model and makes Hollywood blockbusters. Okay, and actually attempts to make Hollywood blockbusters. Yeah, and you know what? He makes Hollywood blockbusters. Civil War was a full-on blockbuster. It was the number one A24 movie in history, right? It broke the block of what an A24 film could do in America, right? He makes Hollywood blockbusters, okay? Now, what's really fascinating is Dungeons and Dragons the Dungeons and Dragons community is pretty much close to a near peerless community. We have almost no peer in the realm, right? So, and the reason why is that's what Gary Gygax designed Dungeons and Dragons to be. Dungeons and Dragons is many things. What is Dungeons and Dragons? I've dedicated a huge portion of my life to answering this question, right? And I believe I'm closest to the answer than anyone on the planet. I think I understand what Dungeons and Dragons is better than anyone, better than any of the designers, better than the creator himself, better than the Uber fans who are here on YouTube, right? I just really, and that's come from a study of Dungeons and Dragons history, and specifically and that's not unique to me. Tons of people have studied Dungeons and Dragons history. Most of those studies are useless because there was a massive prejudice in the middle of it. There's a lot of misogyny in almost all of the history that's been presented for Dungeons and Dragons. So you could throw away most books that have been written on Dungeons and Dragons because it's got a big knot of misogyny and hatred in the middle of it, right? Like whole bunch of middle-aged white dudes who are like, the history of Dungeons and Dragons is that Lorraine Williams screwed it up. Let me tell you about it. Like, no, throw that book in the river. Like, thanks. Next. Looking at you, Ben Grimm. Like, okay, in my humble opinion. All right, let's keep moving. And actually, he talked about it openly. He's like, Lorraine, I begged Lorraine to do my interview. She's like, nah, I've seen 10 of you, right? Like, just, some disgruntled middle-aged white dude who's gonna twist my words and not give me the time of day. And boy, was she right. His slaying the dragons is just like a big old hit job, in my humble opinion, on Lorraine Williams. And there's too many of them, right? And also canon, right? So I've studied canon, and this is the part where I think where my knowledge really has surpassed others. People just don't understand Dungeons & Dragons canon. They don't understand what's happening on Dungeons & Dragons canon, and it is fully unprecedented. It's not happened on any other intellectual property in the world, and if you understand it, you understand Dungeons & Dragons. All right. So we have this community, and Gary Gygax built this community, and what it did was it attracted the most charismatic, confident, intelligent people in the world, and that is really unusual. Nobody had done this before. Nobody had built a hyper powerful magnet for a collection of people, all of whom were charismatic, confident, and intelligent. There's really never been anything like it, right? And it's drawn the people who have charisma, confidence, and intelligence. And those people are the catalysts for the world. We really are. There's a similar community within tech, but I think tech is it had a huge amount of potential, and it's wasted that potential on another way to deliver your tacos. Like, I should be able to Uber to the moon right now if the tech industry was on burr, but they're not. They're just not, right? But the D&D community is, right? So basically, almost nobody can tell us anything. We are the most charismatic, confident, intelligent people in the world. There's nobody past us except Alex Garland, and also except people in the Lego community. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but the Lego community is ahead of the D&D community. We're following them in many ways. All right, so Alex Garland comes forward, and this is pretty profound. right? So Alex Garland comes forward, and he does something between devs and Civil War. So he makes this show in March 2020, right? It drops right before the Great Pandemic, right? And thank God it was made before the Great Pandemic, because we might have lost this modern classic, right? So in devs, what he does is he looks at prediction engines, right? And he learns, Alex Garland personally learns, that if you observe a thing, you can control the thing. You can predict the thing. You can direct the thing. You can own the thing. You can fully form the thing. You can impact it in ways that no one else does if you accurately observe it, right? So if you observe it before it happens, okay? That's what he figured out, right? Alex Garland realized that if you observe the thing before it happens accurately, right? If you form your own prediction engine, you can control the thing before it happens, right? So how did Alex Garland do this, and where did he do it? He did it with America's Civil War, right? He made devs, and he says it, literally, Alex Garland says it in the middle of devs. He's like, if you observe the thing, you change the thing, right? I extrapolate that. I think he really means you control it, you define it, you determine it, right? So where did he do this? Where did Alex Garland do this? Well, I saw Alex Garland's A24 Civil War twice. And I believe that movie it has nothing to do with entertainment, right? And it is not an observation of war generically. It is a prediction of the American Civil War that will happen directly after the election that we're going to hit in November, right? So we have this abominable American presidential election. It is terrible. Everyone is deeply, I can tell you right now, everybody in America is just weeping in their cereal, because we're like, these are our choices. This is abominable, right? We get the burning chaos that is right now if we have Biden, and we get a return to hubris and debauchery if we take the other guy. It's just horrendous. It is terrible, right? And so what Alex Garland did was he looked at where America was heading, and he said, in my opinion, in Civil War, he said very clearly, oh, you Americans are going into a civil war, right? And also, it's really fascinating, it's not going to be a civil war between liberals and between Democrats and Republicans. It's going to be Republicans versus Republicans, right? And I think he's right, because any Republicans versus Democrats civil war would be over in 48 hours, right? What do you think is going to happen? A bunch of people that are already militiaed up, or know people who are militiaed up, against a bunch of anti-authoritarian vegans who have never even held a long arm? How long do you think that's going to go? It's not, right? And so I think Alex Garland predicted the American Civil War that's coming within 6 to 9 months, right? And he's controlling it, right? He's controlling it. So how is he controlling it? The biggest thing is really wild is he's actually doing it to calm Americans down. And so if you watch Civil War, he's like, hey, you guys are going into a civil war. This is what it's going to look like, right? And it's going to be beautiful. And if you watch Civil War, it is stunningly beautiful, right? And he's like, a lot of people are going to die, but those deaths are going to have purpose. They're going to have meaning. They're going to have an epicness to them. They're going to have a worthiness to them. They're going to have a value to them, right? You're going into another civil war, but you don't need to worry. The good will defeat the evil, exactly like happened in the first Civil War, right? And the people who used to not be useful are going to be extremely useful in this war. And all the deaths that happen are going to be worth every single loss of life, right? These will be deaths of purpose, deaths of meaning, epic deaths to match epic lives, right? And also, the world will come out better and stronger because of this, right? So that's what Alex Garland is really saying. Now, why is that important to every dungeon master? Well, the biggest thing is, in my humble opinion, when he did devs, he's like, oh, computers are going to be able to tell the future. But we're now seeing with AI that that's not the case at all, right? AI has massive limitations, right? In fact, the limitations are all it can do is help you deliver tacos better, right? Like, I'm not Ubering to the moon. There's no real changes coming from AI. It does a little bit of art. Who cares, right? Like, you know, you probably have somebody you know who's a pretty good artist. Do they change the world? No. Look, right? So, or visual artist, I should say. I should amend that, right? So, why is it important for us to look at Alex Garland? Well, he was right about prediction engines. So what is the most powerful prediction engine that's ever been created? It is the Dungeons and Dragons table. It is a hexacore computer. 6 cores: the Dungeon Master, the Red Dragon Master, the White Dragon Master, the Blue Dragon Master, the Green Dragon Master, and the Black Dragon Master. More memory, more power, more processing than any computer's ever had. And it can perfectly predict the future, right? When we begin to do experiential modeling with it, which I believe has already started, right? So that's where we land. That's what all this is about. Is Alex Garland is saying, hey, you guys can observe a thing with Dungeons and Dragons and find the personal best paths through your own near future. And that's incredibly powerful and valuable in the March 2020 show devs, and we're about to live it with the next 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons. Alex Garland is shaping the future of Dungeons and Dragons as the D&D community realizes the brilliant wisdom he already put in his work, you know, how we process it. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Absolutely nothing more, absolutely nothing less. What's important is when I hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.